Tonight, Essentials. The Science and Treatment of Bipolar Disorder, Stat+. Pharmalittle. We're reading about Moderna's flu shot, a death in a gene editing trial in China, and more. Scientists say just 7 days of meditation can rewire your brain. For decades, we were told to choose low-fat dairy. New research says otherwise. Frequent cannabis users wake up with their stress hormone already elevated, wine, beer, or spirits. Massive study finds a surprising health divide. Acalabrutinib may offer durable results in CLL treatment. Child abuse coding Sparse in German hospitals. New BTK inhibitor approved for urticaria, and levitating sensor for magnetic fields could detect ultrafaint brain activity. We start with Essentials. The Science and Treatment of Bipolar Disorder. Essentials. The Science and Treatment of Bipolar Disorder. Essentials. The Science and Treatment of Bipolar Disorder. In this Huberman Lab Essentials episode, I explain the biology, symptoms, and types of bipolar disorder, sometimes called bipolar depression, a condition characterized by extreme maladaptive shifts in energy, mood, and perception. I describe the diagnostic criteria that distinguish bipolar I from bipolar II, including mania and hypomania, and the different patterns of mood cycling. I discuss the remarkable history and discovery of lithium and how it works, in part by reducing inflammation, providing neuroprotection, and supporting the interoceptive neural circuits affected in bipolar disorder. I also cover talk therapies, electroconvulsive therapy, and nutraceuticals such as omega-3 fatty acids and inositol, and I explore the intriguing relationship between mood disorders and creativity. This episode should interest anyone who has or knows someone with bipolar disorder, as well as those interested in how the brain balances mood, energy, and focus. Articles: Lithium salts in the treatment of psychotic excitement, the Medical Journal of Australia. Omega-3 fatty acids in bipolar disorder, a preliminary double-blind, placebo-control. Stat+. Pharmalittle. We're reading about Moderna's flu shot, a death in a gene editing trial in China, and more. Good morning, everyone, and how are you today? We are just fine, thank you. Although gray skies are enveloping the Pharmalittle campus, our spirits remain sunny. After all, as the morning mayor taught us, every new day should be unwrapped like a precious gift. So go ahead and tug on the ribbon. While you do, we will indulge with another cup of needed stimulation. Our choice today is maple bourbon. Meanwhile, here are some items of interest. Hope your day goes well. In a move that seemed out of reach just 6 months ago, the Food and Drug Administration approved Moderna's influenza vaccine for older adults, the first licensed flu shot made using messenger RNA technology, Stat says. In February, Vinay Prasad, the FDA's head of biologics at the time, overturned the recommendation of career staff and issued a rare refusal to file notice to the company, saying the agency would not review the vaccine based on available data. A week later, after Moderna disclosed the decision as well as its own displeasure over the agency position, Prasad's decision was reversed. He left the FDA at the end of April. The FDA approved a novel type of treatment for narcolepsy made by Takeda, backing a Drew. Scientists say just 7 days of meditation can rewire your brain. Scientists say just 7 days of meditation can rewire your brain. Just 7 days of intensive meditation and mind-body practices produced measurable changes in participants' brains, blood chemistry, immune activity, metabolism, and natural pain relief systems. Date: August 8, 2026. Source: University of California, San Diego. Summary: an intensive 7-day meditation retreat triggered striking changes across the brain and body, including shifts tied to neuroplasticity, immunity, metabolism, and natural pain relief. Participants also showed brain connectivity patterns resembling those associated with psychedelic experiences, suggesting that powerful altered states may be achievable without drugs. Share: a week of intensive meditation and other mind and body practices may be capable of producing measurable changes far beyond simple relaxation. In a recent study, researchers at the University of California, San Diego found that a 7-day retreat was associated with changes in brain activity, blood chemistry, immune signaling, metabolism, and the body's natural pain control systems. The researchers also found signs of increased neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability. For decades, we were told to choose low-fat dairy. New research says otherwise. For decades, we were told to choose low-fat dairy. New research says otherwise. Date: August 9, 2026. Source: University of Toronto summary. Full-fat dairy may be healthier than conventional advice has suggested. In a 12-week study, adults who ate 3 servings a day showed no meaningful increases in weight, body fat, cholesterol, or insulin resistance. They also experienced improved blood pressure and consumed more calcium, protein, and vitamin D. The findings suggest dairy's complex structure may matter more than its saturated fat content alone. Share. A new Canadian study led by University of Toronto Professor Harvey Anderson adds to growing evidence that full-fat dairy can be part of a healthy diet. In the 12-week study, 74 adults consumed different amounts of dairy under varying dietary conditions. The researchers found that eating 3 servings of full-fat dairy per day did not negatively affect body weight, body composition, energy metabolism, or blood lipid levels. The findings were recently published in the Journal of Nutrition. Why full-fat dairy has long raised concerns. Dairy foods contain saturated fat, which has traditionally been associated with higher C. Frequent cannabis users wake up with their stress hormone already elevated. Frequent cannabis users wake up with their stress hormone already elevated. Date: August 9, 2026. Source: Oregon State University. Summary: Frequent cannabis users may wake up with unusually high levels of the stress hormone cortisol, suggesting their daily stress rhythms could be disrupted. Researchers say the finding raises questions about whether using cannabis for stress relief might, over time, interfere with the very system that helps the body handle stress. Share. People who frequently use cannabis may begin the day with higher levels of cortisol than those who do not use it, according to research from Oregon State University. The finding points to a possible connection between regular cannabis use and changes in the body's normal daily stress rhythm. The study, conducted by Oregon State University scientists, was published in the journal Cannabis. Stress is one of the main reasons people report using cannabis, and it is also associated with problematic patterns of use. Although cannabis can provide temporary relief from stress, the researchers say frequent use over time could potentially interfere with the biological systems that regulate the stress response. Wine, beer, or spirits. Massive study finds a surprising health divide. Wine, beer, or spirits. Massive study finds a surprising health divide. A massive study suggests that at low to moderate levels, wine and other alcoholic drinks may have surprisingly different links to longevity and heart health. Date: August 9, 2026. Source: American College of Cardiology. Summary: A study tracking more than 340,000 adults for over a decade found that heavy drinking increased the risk of death regardless of beverage type. At lower levels, however, the picture became more surprising. Beer, cider, and spirits were linked to higher mortality, while wine was associated with lower risk. Moderate wine drinkers had a 21% lower risk of cardiovascular death compared with people who rarely or never drank. Share. Heavy alcohol use has consistently been tied to poorer health, no matter what type of alcohol a person drinks. At lower levels of consumption, however, the health effects may differ depending on the beverage, according to research presented at the American College of Cardiology's annual scientific session, ACC 26. The findings, based on data from more than 340,000 adults in Britain, support earlier evidence suggesting that lower alcohol consumption is G. Acalabrutinib may offer durable results in CLL treatment. TOPLINE treatment-naive patients with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, CLL, who received acalabrutinib monotherapy had sustained clinical benefit at 3 years, with real-world progression-free survival and overall survival exceeding 80%. Most patients remained on therapy, although some stopped treatment because of adverse events. Methodology: researchers analyzed 3-year follow-up data from an ongoing observational study, EPIC, in the UK, to evaluate the real-world effectiveness and safety of first-line acalabrutinib in patients with CLL. The analysis included 282 treatment-naive adult patients, median age, 73.9 years. 55% men, treated at multiple centers across England and Wales who received their first dose between April 2020 and April 2021. Patients received acalabrutinib monotherapy, with most starting at 200 mg per day, 100 mg twice daily. Dose reductions and temporary interruptions were recorded. The primary endpoint was real-world progression-free survival. Secondary endpoints included real-world overall survival and time to treatment discontinuation. Adverse events were also recorded. Patients were followed for a median duration of 48.9 months. Takeaway, at 36 months are child abuse coding sparse in German hospitals. TOPLINE hospital administrative coding of child physical abuse, CPA, remained rare, with explicit abuse diagnosis remaining stable or decreasing. Broader assessment, psychosocial, and procedural safeguarding codes increased, and most coded cases involved head injuries. Methodology: researchers conducted a retrospective analysis of administrative hospital data from Germany and examined child physical abuse, CPA, related coding patterns from 2019 to 2024. A total of 11,331,326 inpatient cases aged 0-17 years were included across the 6-year period. Researchers identified CPA-related coding using the explicit diagnosis code for physical abuse, broader maltreatment indicators, and procedural safeguarding codes that document diagnostic procedures in cases of suspected risk to a child's well-being. Takeaway: CPA-related diagnostic coding remained rare, about 0.3% of admissions, but the total number of diagnostic CPA indicators increased from 2019 to 2024. The explicit abuse diagnosis showed a net decline of 16.4% among children aged 1 month to 5 years and 4.5% among those aged 0-17 years, while broader assessment and psychosocial context codes increased. Hospitalizations with C. New BTK inhibitor approved for urticaria. The Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, MHRA, has approved the oral Bruton's tyrosine kinase, BTK, inhibitor Remibrutinib, Rapsido, Novartis Pharmaceuticals UK, for adults with chronic spontaneous urticaria, CSU. The approval followed assessment of evidence from 2 main phase III clinical trials, REMIX 1 and REMIX 2, together involving 925 adults with CSU, and inadequate response to H1 antihistamine treatment. Patients treated with Remibrutinib experienced rapid, significant, and sustained improvements in urticaria activity score, itch severity score, and hive severity score compared with placebo. Approximately 1/3 of patients achieved complete symptom resolution by week 12, and the drug showed an acceptable safety profile with mostly mild adverse events and no need for routine laboratory monitoring. Remibrutinib works by blocking BTK, an enzyme involved in immune signaling pathways. It reduces inflammation, so making CSU symptoms less frequent and less severe. The approval was granted through the International Recognition Procedure, RUT-B, introduced in 2024. Remibrutinib received a positive opinion from the European Medicines Agency's Committee for M. Levitating sensor for magnetic fields could detect ultrafaint brain activity. Thank you for visiting nature.com. You are using a browser version with limited support for CSS. To obtain the best experience, we recommend you use a more up-to-date browser or turn off compatibility mode in Internet Explorer. In the meantime, to ensure continued support, we are displaying the site without styles and JavaScript. Scientists have turned a levitating magnet into a device for measuring magnetic fields, known as a magnetometer, one that is sensitive enough to detect the faint signals of the brain's electrical activity. The technique, which is simpler than existing approaches, is reported today in Science 1. Some of the most sensitive magnetometers use looped superconducting quantum interference devices, SQUIDs, which only work at temperatures close to absolute zero and therefore require complex cryogenics. Another state-of-the-art device, called a spin-exchange relaxation-free, SURF, magnetometer, needs near-perfect shielding from external magnetic interference. Both of these requirements increase the complexity of the device and extend the distance between the sample and the magnetometer. The levitating magnetometer described in the latest work reduces this distance. That's all for this news briefing. Thanks for listening. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.